Hi everyone, I'm David Hunter, and today I'm going to show you how to use, or rather how to process, your Leica DS2000 or IDS Opera Duo GPR data in GPR-SLICE. Now the process is slightly different in comparison to the normal processes. The reason being is that we have to convert the IDS or Leica radar data format into a format that's suitable for GPR-SLICE. Thankfully, that process is fairly straightforward, but it is a unique step for this particular type of equipment. So the first thing that we're going to do is, if we go to this website up here, www.gpr-survey.com/practice, and then click on this file here, ids_hd_data_converter.zip. And my internet connection is very slow, so I won't force you to sit through it. I've already pre-downloaded it. So here it is, here on the desktop. I'm just going to extract this HD data converter.exe file. And I have my IDS, my Opera Duo dataset here. So this folder, by the way, has all your NMEA data. This is a GPS-based dataset. A SVY survey file down the bottom, and a data folder, complete with the Grid HD folder and all the swath folders and so on. And it's critical that you have all of these files to begin with. If you don't have them, there's not much that we can do with your data, unfortunately. So we will first just open this HD data converter program, and you get this message. This is just a standard Windows message saying we don't know who published this software. Are you sure you want to run it? In this case, the software is made by IDS, so of course you want to. So you just press more info and then run anyway. And you can see down the bottom there another error warning that's come up. Again, it really wants to make sure that you know that you definitely want to do it. So Microsoft can be a bit fiddly at times, unfortunately, but press yes. And this is the installation, of course. And we'll just assume that we want to run it, which we do, so we click finish. So this is the HD converter that was made by IDS themselves. For anyone that's not familiar, IDS is a survey equipment manufacturer company based in Italy, I believe. They were recently, or they had they currently have a GPS division. I don't know what else they produce, but I assume they would also do other equipment. And they also had a radar division. And recently that radar division was bought by Hexagon, which is a company that owns Leica Geosystems, another manufacturer of GPS and total station equipment and cable locating equipment, buried asset utility detection equipment, that sort of thing. Then they're based in Switzerland. So as a result of that, Leica has taken IDS radar systems and essentially rebranded it, but it's the exact same hardware. It's still the IDS Opera Duo hardware that is being sold, and it's being called a Leica DS2000. So if you see Opera Duo or IDS Opera Duo and you're a Leica DS2000 user, don't panic, it's the exact same equipment. Now, when I went to create this video, at this point the IDS program, unfortunately did not want to work on my primary computer. So I've actually had to switch computers at this point, so you'll notice that very shortly. But I've got it working on the other computer. I don't know what the problem was, but in any case, such is life. But what I'm going to do when the program works, you'll see I'll select the three dots. I'll just load it up here and select the three dots next to the project folder label, and I'm going to navigate through for the data folder and go down to the Opera Duo.xml file. That's going to be our input. We're going to select position data if we've got GPS data, and the single line length can be left as is. And then you simply press the convert button and it will begin, as you can see. And I won't force you to sit through all of this. At the end you'll end up with something like this message: data conversion successfully completed. You just press OK, and if you go back into that folder with all your data in it, you will now find there's a grid_HD folder with all the files that are converted ready to go. So we can put those into GPR-SLICE. Okay, so I've just switched back to my original computer and I've transferred the data over from it as well, from the other computer, now that we've done the conversion of the data. And you'll see in this Grid HD folder that there are well, files that begin with LA01 and then LA02. These, of course, refer to channels 1 and channel 2 for your GPR, from your GPR. So, what we need to do now is essentially load these into GPR-SLICE. We need to load them separately to begin with, and then we'll proceed with just ordinary processing, like as shown in the normal introduction to GPR-SLICE video. So I'm going to open up GPR-SLICE here, and I'm going to go File, Create New Project, and I'm going to scroll down to IDS Opera Duo, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to give the survey a name. So in this case I'm going to call it, this was a GPS-based IDS dataset, so I'm going to call it IDS_GPS, just for my own record keeping, and then press the new survey button. Obviously you can call it whatever you need to call it. It could be the site name or something like that. So close there, File, Transfer Data. I'm going to click Browse, and we need to search for that grid_HD folder that was created earlier. So into the survey folder, data, grid_HD, there it is, and making sure that this is the folder with all the .dt and .gps files. Yes. Now, if of course you don't have GPS data, then you obviously won't have .gps files, but I'll show you that later on in this video. So click OK, click Search, wait for it to populate the list, and then press the Import button. And it's crucial to wait until this is finished before you continue. So once it says complete there, then you're alright. If you don't see that complete there and you click Close, it won't finish the process properly and you won't know about it. So it's vital that you actually wait for it to complete. And then you can click Close. And the next step, File menu, Create New Info. And we're going to call, so file name, or what we're trying to do, our info file, GPR-SLICE works by creating info files. And info files contain the position of every single survey line within your project. Now that could be GPS based, or it could be some other method of navigation, but that's what this particular screen is all about. And we're going to essentially create an info file for the channel 1 data, and then an info file for the channel 2 data. So what we'll do is we'll call this one info1, or info ch1, info channel 1.dat, and we're going to go back to our folder and look at how many files there are, and it looks like it's 63 lines for that particular channel. I'll just make sure that the first number is a number 1 instead of a 0, and yes it is. Okay, good. So our number of files is obviously 63. Our file identifier, now this is the start of the line of the actual file name. So as you can see here, it's going to be LA0100 by the look of it, and obviously 01 will be the continuation of that, because it goes on to 63, so maybe it's 3 zeros. We'll see what we can do. LA01000. Okay, .dt is the file extension, obviously, .dt, and our GPS file extension is a .gps file. Now, by the way, if we open this .gps file in Notepad or something like that, there it says $GPGGA. Now, it's important that you check this, because if you have a more recent RTK GNSS receiver or GPS receiver, you might find that you've got a GNGGA string instead, and that's slightly different. But you need to make sure that you've got either GPGGA or NGA or whatever it is. But either way, you need to make sure that the setting here in GPR-SLICE is changed to match what is in the file. So in this case, we're going to change it to GPGGA, and make sure GPS is selected here, which it is by default. And then we're just going to click Create Info, and make sure that our numbers are correct. which I'm pretty sure they're not. No, I've missed a 0 by the look of it. So there we go. So there should be 3 zeros and then a 1. I'll just double check that in the data. 3 zeros and then a 1, yes, that's correct. And to make sure that the last number is correct, it should be 0067 from memory. Sorry, 0063 I should say. That's correct, and to make sure that it's actually created that in the info file, I'm just going to click this next button to go through, and there we go, 0063, okay, that's fine. So that's working fine there. Now, by the way, if you don't see this section down the bottom here, don't panic. This is the multi-channel section, which is only available if you pay extra for the multi-channel add-on. So don't worry about that. We don't actually need it for this anyway. So click close, and then we're going to go edit info file, and actually while I'm at it, I might actually just go back and do the same thing for channel 2 while I remember. It'll just be easier to get it all done at once. And I'll just make sure that again that it's 63. Yes, okay. So all we need to change here for this one is LA02. Everything else is pretty much identical, as long as you got info CH2 instead of CH1, and everything else should be fine. Create info. There we go. So that's created the info files for both channels 1 and 2. So we can now close that file, edit info file, and make sure that we select the info CH1 file to begin with, because that's what we'll work with to start off with. And then we're going to press the IDS get TS button, which is here, and that updates the time window and the samples per scan values. You'll see down here that these will change when I press the OK button. There we go. Notice that these have changed. So then we're going to press Save Edits, just to make sure that that's saved. And we should also press the NMEA to UTM button, which is here. And that's going to actually extract the GPS data from the files and update it there. So we can now press Save Edits. And while we're at it, we can switch to info CH2 and do the exact same thing. IDS get TS, and then NMEA to UTM. Oh, and it doesn't like that. Oh no, sorry. Of course not. Wrong button. You need to press, for channel 2, you need to press the Opera GPS 1 to 2, and that just copies the GPS values over from the first channel. That's fine. And then we're going to press the Save Edits, and obviously if you're familiar with GPR-SLICE already, you'll know that you can come back to this Edit Info File menu, and you can switch between Info Channel 1 and Info Channel 2 as you need to look at the different data sets. So we're not actually processing them at the same time. We're going to, we've essentially split them up, and we're going to look at the two channels separately. So at this point we can now proceed with ordinary data processing. I won't show you the entire thing. I'll show you the start of it, because there is one thing that needs to be changed. So I may as well show you that. So I'll close here. File, convert data. This is a standard process. This is all covered, from now on is covered within the standard introduction to GPR-SLICE video. So I encourage you to look at that. That's available on my website, www.gprslice.com.au, and then just click the links to the help, GPR-SLICE help, and you'll eventually find the videos. But this is, I'll just go through it from here. So we press the IDS 16 to 16-bit button, and make sure you press the gain reset button, and then batch gain dash wobble. This will take a while, obviously. It is a lot faster than it used to be. Much faster than it used to be. So we have a lot to be thankful for to Dean Goodman. He's done a lot of work, over 30 years work in fact, to get GPR-SLICE up and going and maintaining it, and certainly in the last 2 weeks even, the changes that he's made to the software have really made it a lot faster than it used to be. So if you're new to GPR-SLICE, then be very thankful that you weren't around before those updates came around. And it wasn't bad, of course, but it was certainly a lot slower. So we'll just let this process. Almost finished. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to close here and close there. And then I'm going to go File menu and then GPS track menu. And here you will see the GPS tracks of where the surveyor walked with the radar system. Now, of course, you can do a whole bunch of filtering that's, as you can see, there's so many buttons here, it's not funny. This is all explained in detail in that other video, that Introduction to GPR-SLICE video. So I won't go through all this here. In fact, at this point, I don't actually need to do anything anyway, but once I'd done that, I then go Navigation Markers, and then I would go to the GPS marker, GPS/vector scan number button, and just press that, and let that populate the menu, the list there, and that's pretty much all that's required at this point. I won't go through the whole process of processing and interpreting the GPR data. From here on in. It's completely standard, and I would refer you to that Introduction to GPR-SLICE video. It goes into a lot more detail than what I'm prepared to do for this particular spot, so I'd encourage you to go and have a look at that video now. What I will do now is by the way, before I say goodbye on this particular data set, as I mentioned before, once I've done my processing and interpreted this particular channel, I can then come back to the File menu, go to the Edit Info file, and then click Info CH2, and from here I can then go on and process and interpret that channel worth of data. So that's how you do that. Okay, so now I'm going to do something a bit different. I've been sent a data set from a user who, instead of having a GPS or a total station relaying data directly into the radar during data collection, instead he has collected the northings and eastings using a total station of the start and end of each radargram, or each radar line, and there he's provided them for us in this file here, and we want to use that instead of GPS data for positioning the radargrams within GPR-SLICE. So before I go on and explain how to do this, the first step is obviously to use the IDS HD converter program, as I explained earlier in this video. However, the difference being with this step is that I left the position data option unchecked, and what that results in is your data set within the GRED HD folder doesn't end up having the .gps files for obvious reasons, because obviously there isn't any GPS data collected with the radar, so GRED has no idea how to create the GPS files because it doesn't have the data. So yeah, that's normal. Now this is obviously a IDS Opera Duo or Leica DS2000 system, dual channel. So there's TA01 represents the first channel and TA02 represents the second channel, and there are 53 lines per channel. And as you can see here, we've only got the coordinates for lines 25 through 35. So when we run this operation, because we have such a limited data set for the actual positions, GPR-SLICE will automatically discard any lines that we don't have coordinates for. And you'll notice this when we go to actually run the operation. You'll see some of the lines will disappear. That's normal, unfortunately. It's just a matter of, if we had the complete coordinate data set, then it would be fine. But we don't for this demonstration. So I'm going to fire up GPR-SLICE, and I'm going to go File, Create New Project, and I'm going to call this one IDS_no GPS. Obviously, you can call it whatever you like. And make sure that the Opera Duo, IDS Opera Duo is the option that's been selected in the menu. If I can find it, I will. There you go, IDS Opera Duo. and click the New Survey button. And just for this purpose of this demonstration, what I should have done right at the start of this video, in fact, I should have just done this, and it would have been so much easier for you to see the menus. But unfortunately, I only thought to do it now. So open the Import Data menu, click Browse, search for the folder with the Grid HD folder that contains our data that's been converted by the IDS program. Press Search, press the Import button, wait for it to show complete, close there, File, create new info, and we're going to first of all obviously change the file name to Info Channel 1. Number of files is 53, and we're going to call it, what was the TA01, and then it's 0000, and obviously the file extension is still .dt. While we're not doing a traditional GPS survey, we can leave these values here as they are. That's not a problem. GPR-SLICE will happily ignore them. Now, because we did a GPS survey last time, it's pre-selected as GPS, but this time we're going to actually change it to an X survey. So I'm just going to click Create Info, and that's fine. By the way, when you do this, make sure that these values here are 0, all 0. If you don't, and you have already pressed the Create Info button, you can just change them to 0 and then press Create Info again. It's not a problem. Now we can change this to Info Channel 2 and change this to TA02 based on the file name. So if I go back down to here, there's TA02, so on and so forth, and press the Create Info button. That's fine. Okay, so now we're going to go into the Edit Info file, and the first thing that we need to do, of course, is the IDS get TS to update the time window and the samples per scan values. And I'm going to do that for the Info Channel 2 as well. Now this is where things deviate from the norm. I've just gone back to Channel 1, and I'm going to click on this Browse X0, X1, Y0, Y1 button. And what it's going to ask you is basically what format is your data file in. And as I showed earlier, or I don't remember if I even did show you actually, what I've done is, so GPR-SLICE will give you the option, do you have only the coordinates, or do you know do you have the file name as well? And it's always best to have the file name as well, if you possibly can. So what I've done is I've rearranged all this data here into the correct format, X0. So X0 is the northing of the start of the radargram. X1 is the northing of the end of the radargram. Y0 is the easting for the start of the radargram, and Y1 is the easting for the end of the radargram. And I've rearranged them into this comma-separated file here, and with the actual radar file number here at the start, or the profile name as it's displayed in GPR-SLICE. Now, you'll notice that here it's got the .dt file extension at the end of each line. I haven't actually included that in the file name here on the file that we're about to import. The reason being is that GPR-SLICE can't handle the file extension. It thinks that it's a decimal value for the coordinates, so we have to manually add that in later, and I'll show you how to do that. But it is important that you leave the file extension off in the file that's ready for import. So we'll close that one just to get it out of the way. Press the Yes button because we're going to use something that has the name in it. By the way, if you press No, you could have a file with just coordinates and no file names, and it would just assume that the first set of coordinates here correlates with the first file name up here, and so on, and it would populate this list here based on the file. However, we know that we do have specific coordinates for a particular file name, so we're going to be explicit about that, just to make sure that it's in the right spot. And you'll notice that because we've got only 25 to 35 instead of 1 to 53 for the files, you'll notice that 0, 1 through to 24 and then 36 to 53 will be missing when we update this window here. So I'll just click Yes, and it's going to ask me where is the file located. We're looking for this file here, IDS fake nav. Okay, and you'll see that actually it's completely emptied this entire window. That's because it's gone and created an info.dat file, which we're not actually using. We're using info channel 1.dat. And so don't panic. All you have to do is just click on that info channel 1, and there it is. And that's what it's done, is it's imported those coordinates. Here we go, line 25, 487.211, 487.211, and so on and so forth. And obviously we've discarded the ones that are missing from the coordinate data set. Yeah, we can't really do anything about that without having the a full data set for all the coordinates. If we had that, it would work perfectly fine. But now the next thing that we need to do is, and this is a very crucial, important step, we need to actually add the file extensions back in. So you can just manually type this into GPR-SLICE and copy and paste it throughout the list. And then you press the Save Edits button. Done. As easy as that. Now, if you have the second channel, which obviously we do, you would need to create a second file with just the coordinates for these particular files. So you need to make sure that the info, the navigation data file that you're importing is unique to each channel. But we won't import it here because obviously we don't have coordinates for these ones. But I'm sure you can get the idea based on how I've done channel 1. So now we need to close here, and we go File, Convert Data like normal, Gain Reset, Batch Gain Dash Wobble. We'll allow that to process. And instead of the GPS track, which we used last time, I'll now show you what's called the Grid Plot menu, which is for if you're manually defining the, what's usually used for if you're manually defining the layout of the survey grid. In this case, we're using total station data. It's a sort of a fake way of doing it, but it works, and this is the window that results. This is a map showing where all the survey lines are, and you can press the name off button to see the lines, the names of each file name of each radar line. But the green dots indicate the start of each radar line, and the red dots indicate the end of them. So that's looking pretty good. Now, the only step that's unique from now on is we go navigation markers, and we need to, instead of going GPS, we need to go artificial markers. So that's a crucial thing to pay attention to. If you press the GPS button, it will stuff it up. It won't work. You'll get error. It'll look like it works, but you'll get errors much further down the track. So make sure if you come across errors, and if you're a new user and you aren't overly familiar with the navigation system within GPR-SLICE, this is an important step to take note of. You're using artificial markers for this particular data set. So click Close, and then from here on it's exactly the same as any other standard radar data processing routine. I would encourage you to go and have a look at the Introduction to GPR-SLICE training video that is on my website, www.gprslice.com.au, and just follow the links through to GPR-SLICE help. I'll leave it to you. If you need any help, by all means, go to gprslice.com.au and look for the Contact Us page, and you'll get my contact details. I'm David Hunter, of course. And if you need more urgent advice, or you want to talk more broadly to the general GPR industry, you of course can do that through the GPR-SLICE Facebook group, where we have quite a large group of industry operators in the group. Okay, good luck with your GPR data processing.